Hello and welcome to the Tell Not Show. I'm Kirsha Fox, author of the Deception and Justice series. I'm so excited to introduce you to Brad C. Anderson. He teaches undergraduate business courses at a local university and researches organizational wisdom. His stories have appeared in a variety of publications, and his short story, Naïve Gods, was longlisted for a 2017 Sunburst Award in Excellence in Canadian Literature of the Fantastic. Welcome, Brad. Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Doing great. Thank you.
Fantastic.
So tell us about your writing journey. What got you started and how's it going?
How's it going? I always feel like the how it's going is the answer is slowly and painfully. I'm a slow writer, so that's always my answer.
I
Um, yeah. Yeah, every once in a while you meet those writers. They're like, "Oh yeah, I write a book every month," or like Stephen King, and you're like, "Man, how do you do that? It takes me like 5 years. It's crazy." Anyhow,
My best friend
um,
is a rapid release author, and I'm like every other year kind of author, and
yeah.
everyone has their own pace and their own journey that they have to go on, and you can't compare yourself to them. It's really easy though.
It's so easy to compare myself to them. Like they're so fast. Yeah. In terms of my journey, how did I get here? I guess I was always a writer as a kid. Um, uh, so I used to always write when I was a kid. I used to always write short stories. And I don't know, this might be a cautionary tale or not, but I started to try to write novels when I was a young kid, and sort of early teens. And I'd always get like two or three chapters in, and then I'd lose interest, and then I'd start something else. And then one day in my mid-teens, I was like, okay, I'm not going to write anything else until I finish this story now, because I noticed this pattern in me. I'm not going to write anything else until I finish this novel. I'm going to write a novel. And then I didn't write anything for about 20 years after that. So
Yeah.
be careful the corner you paint yourself into. And it's funny, after 20 years, I was just getting, just going through some old stuff, and I was like looking at the story I'm like, this isn't bad. I should finish. I remember this. I should finish this. And I finally did finish it. It was the first novel so I was true to my word, but there was a 20-year hiatus. And so I'm like,
Mhm.
maybe I shouldn't have made that. Maybe I shouldn't have boxed myself in like that. There you go.
You're
Cautionary
just
tale.
going through old papers or on your computer
Yeah.
and found this old document and was like, I should finish this.
It's like your parents store all their kids' stuff, and then after a while, they're like, "Why am I storing all this crap here? If you want to, here you go. This box of stuff arrives. Like you want to keep it, you store it someplace." And
Yeah.
I'm just going through, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember this." And yeah, it's one of those things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what other things have you written since that story?
Yeah. Well, so it sounds like a lot. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a lot, considering how slow I am. It sounds like a lot. So I've written that first story turned into a trilogy. So I wrote those three books. I always kind of tell people those feel like my practice books, or they're my first.
Mm-hmm.
And they were self-published. Went through that whole route with that particular book, with that particular trilogy, with that series. Um, I've written two standalone science fiction novels as well that I had traditionally published, which is kind of cool. I found with the trilogy, because it takes me so long, I'd spent committing to a trilogy is like, okay, now I have to spend all these years in the same story. I'm like, I have other stories I want to tell. So I was like, no more trilogies. I'm just going to do standalone books. And so
Mm-hmm.
I published two standalone books, science fiction, a bunch of short stories, and then I've also written nonfiction. I never Whenever anybody asks, I like never count my nonfiction, because I'm like, that's like boring. It's like my
I
fun
think it
stuff.
counts. You still have to write it. You still have to make it
Make it
readable, you know?
totally try to make it interesting.
Mhm.
And that has to do with that's kind of like workish related. It's based on that research that I was doing on organizational wisdom. So I wrote a text. So I wrote a sort of high level academic-y kind of thing on organizational wisdom. And then I wrote a layperson's sort of open access free textbook for organizational wisdom. So there we go. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So two nonfiction-y kinds of things, and a bunch of short stories and articles and yada 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 yada. Yeah.
What is organizational
What
wisdom?
is Yeah, I know, right? Everybody thinks everybody's first answer is it's an oxymoron. Yeah, it looks at first to answer that, you got to think about like, well, what is wisdom first, right? The way that I kind of approached it is, it really looks at social systems and organizations, like sort of the complexity and the political structure of organizations and social systems. And long story short, it kind of gives people a framework for how can you navigate that effectively. When you look at what wisdom is, um, when you like every culture has their tradition of wisdom. Every culture has their philosophers and a history of philosophy and religion as well. They describe the wise person.
Mhm.
When you look at all this literature, though, it looks very different from culture to culture. So you're like, oh man, it seems like it's different for everyone, right? But there's themes that you can pull out. There's themes that seem to repeat culture to culture. That just be these things that we kind of respect. And I focused on three themes. One is values, guide wise action. So the people we think of as wise are pursuing values that we agree with. Like if somebody is pursuing values that we do not agree with, we don't say like, oh, that's a wise person. We're like, that person is a monster, right? Yeah,
Yes.
like they're a villain. So there's a values aspect to it, so values guide wise action. The second is like knowledge is required, but it's insufficient for wise action. So we need to know how to do stuff, but you need wisdom in those situations where we don't necessarily know what the right answer is, or it's contested, right? So we need knowledge, but it's not enough. Like you need judgment, you need this ability to kind of navigate an uncertainty. And then the final theme is wisdom is action oriented. So it's not knowing the right thing, it's doing the right thing. So having that courage, being able to actually, in a social system, exercise power to make something happen.
Yes.
So yeah, sort of those themes, values, looking at knowledge and rationality, and looking at power and action, and like how can you actually make things happen.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
kind of how I captured that.
Okay. Do you
Yeah.
feel like those themes also present themselves in your fiction?
They do. Never explicitly, but they absolutely
Yes.
do. Um, so I, based on doing the research that I've done, learning what I've learned, sensitizes. Well, obviously you can't help it. It sensitizes you to like see the world through certain lenses and to see things that you never saw before. And I don't know, one of the things that jumps out at me is that so much of the social conflicts that we face are ultimately they're value conflicts, and they're like, how do we navigate value conflicts? And so values are they're the goals we want to achieve, and they're the means we feel are appropriate to achieve those
Mhm.
goals. Oftentimes, when people argue and debate, they throw data at each other because everybody always thinks that they're like, everybody, nobody thinks of values. Everybody always thinks of like data and rationality and stuff like that. But the problem is that if you're not trying to pursue the same goal, your data is proving the wrong point, right? So
Mhm.
you're like, I'm showing all this data that proves that I'm right, but you fundamentally don't agree with what I'm trying to do. So like I can show you all the data in the world, it doesn't matter. You're trying to go you're trying to go to a different
Yes. And they
destination than
look
I
at the same data and say, "You just proved my point."
yeah, you
Yes.
just totally that happens all the time too, right? And so oftentimes it's like before you start throwing data and information and citing your sources at each other, you got to sort of back up and it's like, what are you trying to achieve here, and what am I trying to achieve here, and what do you think? Why does what I'm doing threaten you? And have those types sort of back up and have those types of conversations to sort of look for bridges where we can make progress together. And so at any rate, like those I try to in my stories, I try to capture sort of the nuanced complexity of situations that people find themselves in. Like it's not necessarily like real life is truly not black and white, like, oh, good guy, bad guy. Like it's complicated, it's messy. When you actually sit down and you talk to people, you're like, oh man, I can see where you're coming from, but I just still don't agree with you. Like it's complex. um, so I try to capture that in my story, and I try to put my characters in situations where they really need to wrestle with that. wrestling sometimes just with the structures of the society that they're in, and just these types of value conflicts. And humans are storytelling creatures. Like, I almost think storytelling is a better way to teach this stuff than like dry textbooks is, right? So showing characters, I think, I put a lot of time, that's why it takes me 5 years, time and effort into kind of building these worlds where you have these really complex and nuanced types of things that people are wrestling with. And they're just like normal schmoes like you and me and stuff like that. But like, wow, there's like, sort of embedded in this bigger system that you're just trying to muddle through, right? So yeah, it's very much
says, just because it's fiction doesn't mean it's not true.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, it's like humans are storytelling creatures, and the most important lessons that we teach each other come in the form of stories. Like humans are storytelling creatures. They resonate with us, and they like just reading it.
That's how we learn. That's how we gain wisdom. That we learn from these stories. We learn from the examples and the lessons taught. There's a reason that fables and parables and these small stories that even a small child can understand are so popular and endure thousands of years.
Yeah. And you think, like, have you read have you ever read a textbook and it's just like hit you? Oh, that's so meaningful. Like,
very seldom.
Like, no.
Very seldom.
Yeah, like it's a story. Like, you read a story and you're like, whoa! Like, a story can hit you, and you're like, whoa! Like, I can't remember who it was, but he was defining poetry, right? It's like poetry. And I can't remember who said it. I can't remember the exact words, but it was like, poetry is the art of saying that which can't be said, right? So it's like there's no words to convey this thing, but through poetry, through stories, you can communicate something that you can't articulate in a word, right? Words. So yeah, I know. We're storytelling creatures. This is how we learn. I found this in the last year, which kind of reinforces this point. And this is a brilliant study. I love this study. I share it with my students in my classes when I teach this stuff to them. They did this study of, they looked at people, who loved and watched a lot of horror movies, and people who did not love and they didn't watch any horror movies. So they looked at like horror fans and non-horror fans. And then they explored which of them were more psychologically resilient during the COVID-19 epidemic from a couple of years ago. And the people that loved horror movies, they scored higher in all these parameters of psychological resilience. And when they unpack them, they're trying to look at the mechanism. Like this engaging in these stories, like, you start like your scenario play, like, what happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? And you like the storytelling, the visceral experience of watching these horror movies kind of just, it like mentally, like you're mentally primed for this type of situation that happens in real life. And yeah, I just thought, like, that's a cool, like, I'm a horror fan. So I was like,
yeah.
I'm not just wasting my time. I'm trying to become psychologically resilient for the next big horrendous thing that happens to us.
Yes. Like, I'm not wasting time watching movies. I am training my brain for resilience.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So how does your writing process unfold? How do you go from like idea to sort of finished draft?
Yeah, I don't know. That's always I think it's a cool, I always love sort of like how do you actually create art? Like, it looks so seamless, or it looks so easy if you don't if you just consume it, right? For me, I'll have like a little notebook where I just like little ideas, sort of like ideas for themes, ideas for characters, ideas for settings. Like, I just kind of scribble them down in this notebook and whatnot. And when I start to gear up to like, okay, I have a story to tell, usually it starts with some kind of theme or thematic or some kind of just something I want to explore. And oftentimes there might be sort of like a character kind of archetype that kind of comes along with that theme. Okay, I want to kind of explore this, and I'm kind of envisioning this kind of a character there. So that's usually where it starts. Is like, what's the what's the theme, what's the thing I want to explore, and there will often be a character with it, right? And then sometimes when I have that idea, I'll go back in my notebook and I'll start to pull out some things that might fit with that or not. But oftentimes, yeah. So almost everything in a story is designed so that you can explore whatever a theme, right? And so, for example, in my most recent book, Ashmi's Song. So maybe I'll use that as an example to sort of show how this unpacks and how this unfolds and how you go from the idea to a story. So the seed for my book Ashmi's Song was planted probably back in like 2016. I told you I'm slow. And it was during the Syrian refugee crisis. So Syrian refugee crisis, there's a big civil war in Syria. All these refugees are flooding into Europe and America and all over the world. And I remember like looking in the news, and there were some news sources of certain political persuasions that were like, they'd have the picture of all these refugees flooding into the country, and they're like, look at all these young men. These young men shouldn't be coming here as refugees. They should be staying in their homeland and fighting for their country. And it kind of got me thinking. Like I just thought, okay, well, that's like on one hand, yeah, like you need people to stand up and fight for what's right, and fight for the family, fight for the country, fight for a cause, absolutely. But then, like, is it also not like, if like what's heroic? Fighting is staying and fighting, or getting your family and getting them to safety, right? Like, what is like is somebody who gets their family and gets them the hell out of there, are they any less?
Values and virtues. Is it better for this, or is it better for this? If your goal is to live, it makes sense to get out, right?
Yeah. And especially, if you got kids, if you got, family, dependents, like old parents.
Yes.
And it's not like refugees have this wonderful life. Like and so part of the research when I'm researching this book here is like I'm researching refugee camps, and I'm like, that is horrible, and it is dangerous as hell living in refugee camps. People go and pack themselves on overcrowded boats and they drown. Like, it's not safe. Like what is the heroic thing to do? And I think that's a rich question to ask, because you do need people to stand up and fight for what's right, but you also need people who take their family and get them to safety. Like, there's not a right answer with that. And so I wanted to explore that theme. And so, all right, cool. First off, I need some characters that I can use to explore that theme. And so I need a character who is torn between staying and fighting and like taking their family and running. And the character of Ashmi was born from that. And so I need to create some family dependence. And I didn't want to do anything traditional. I wanted to do something sort of, I don't know, interesting. Normally, in a lot of literature, when you have a female character who's got a dependent, it's like, oh, she's got a kid that she needs to get out. I didn't, that's been done. I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to give her, I gave her a twin brother, but this twin brother has disabilities, and his special needs, his disabilities, and needs somebody to look after him. And it's kind of like this, it's like a brother-sister story, right? She's looking after her twin in this world that's falling apart. So, okay, first off, I have this theme. I need some characters that can explore this. So I got these characters. Now I need a world that's falling apart. That's sort of creating this tension.
Don't have to go too far.
I don't have to look too far. I just picked up the newspaper. I'm like, okay, lots of ideas there.
Pre-made, ready to go.
Yeah, bingo, exactly, right. So and then you start world building. All right, I need two sides. I need these types of situations and dynamics. So you start building that out. You do research on that. You build that out. I find you need characters that sort of represent different thematic choices. So I'm like, okay, what's the brave thing to do? To fight or to stay? And so, okay, there's some characters who are sort of represent we got to stay and fight. There's some characters that are like, no, we've got to get a family and get out of Dodge. So you need those kind of opposite, those sort of thematic choices represented in characters and people. And then you got to come up with a plot that ties all of this stuff here together and sort of puts that choice there. So that's kind of, for me, that's how the story gets built out.
Okay. One brick at a time.
One brick at a time. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right. For you, what is the most important part of writing?
The most important part of writing. That's a
That's a
nobody's
very
ever,
open-ended question.
yeah, nobody's ever asked what's the most important part of writing, and I've
But it's
yeah,
for you, not just necessarily for anyone else.
yeah. So for me, the most important part of writing um, is really trying to and I don't, yeah, it's the feelings and the thinking and the experience that you can sort of create in the audience, in the reader. I don't know if that's like it's not the act of writing, but to me, like, that's for me, that's what it's all about. I want, like, I want the readers to feel something. I want to create something in the reader, and so for me, that's the most important thing, is creating something that can sort of like reach out and sort of like touch another person, right? And make them feel something.
Yes.
Uh, and then, yeah, and then it's, yeah, like, and how do you create that? What are the important parts of creating that? I think it's creating um, uh, character, like, it's creating relatable characters that are is creating relatable characters that are in over their heads, basically. The world's crazy, and they're just trying to make their way in it, facing these situations, and there's sacrifice, there's trade-offs, right? When they make a choice, when they make a choice, you can feel the sacrifice that they have. Like, they have to let go of something to make a choice to go this other way.
Yes.
So making that,
I think that we've often reflected that it is a powerful thing to be able to write something that will touch another person and mean something to them,
yeah,
and that they will gain a benefit from. They'll get insights. They'll
yeah,
change. They'll change them, and it is the most wonderful thing to hear from someone that your book helped them in some way.
yeah.
It changed their perspective. It made them feel.
Made them
And
think.
for me, it's especially important because my books will outlive me.
Yeah,
And it is a
yeah,
wonderful thing to think that you've left behind something meaningful that will continue to help people even after you're gone.
yeah, yeah.
So
Absolutely, yeah,
that's the vibes I was getting from your answer there, is
yeah. I'm with
just
you. Yeah.
having it mean
I'm
something to someone.
And it's like the whole, it's like the human need to, like, I just want to matter. I just want to matter to
Yeah,
somebody.
we just
Yeah.
want to matter.
Yeah.
We want
And
our
connection as well, right? Like, we want to matter. And I think we get meaning out of connections with others. And I think that's a lot of what drives people to create art, because you can connect with people through art.
Mhm.
And yeah, just being able
It's
to do that.
mirrors. We're mirrors. We
Yeah.
reflect off of
Yes.
each other, and so gain a deeper insight into ourselves. It's kind of a very human thing, a very human experience.
Yes. No, it's very, absolutely. Yeah. We're storytelling creatures, and this is
Yeah,
why.
this is why. All
Yeah.
right. Do you have a favorite author? And what is something that they do really well?
You know what? There's a bunch. My answer to that probably varies from time to time. I
Mhm,
think my standard answer, it's a Canadian author, a Canadian fantasy writer, Guy Gavriel Kay is his name.
mhm.
Um, and it's like he's well known, but he's not, like, it's like he's not like a Sanderson or a Patrick Rothfuss or anything like that. But I think he is very well known. But he writes gorgeous prose. He writes gorgeous novels, just richly complex and nuanced. And sometimes I feel like, oh man, like, if I could write like that, it would be a superpower. Just, I
Yeah,
say, just gorgeous prose, gorgeous characterization, say intricate plot. Just, yeah, Guy Gavriel Kay is his name.
all right. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. What's something you learned from the writing process? Something that young you would have benefited from knowing?
Oh, that's another good question. You have all these questions that nobody's ever asked before. Now I have to think
That
about
was my goal. I didn't want to ask the same usual things over and over again. I love
yeah,
getting to the heart of people and who they are and why we write.
yeah, yeah.
And I hope that the listeners who hear these interviews gain something as well. We're readers, we're writers.
Well, these are good questions. So something I've learned through writing that I think younger me would have benefited from. I mean, stories are about people. Younger me probably thought stories were about plot and action and stuff like that, but stories are about people and human situations. And so if you want to be a good writer, I think you need to spend time. You need to spend time with people. You need to understand people. You need to be able to understand things from other people's perspectives. I think that's in order to write really convincing characters, you need to be like, if you want to have a compelling villain, right? You need to understand their perspective in a way, like, because nobody thinks they're a villain. Everybody thinks that they're the good guy, right? Nobody thinks they're a villain. So you need to be able to think of the other person's perspective in a way that doesn't villainize them, right? And I think there's power in that. But yeah, it's you really need, like, yeah, stories are about people, and so you really need to understand people. You need to know people. You need to love people. Just like you guys are all cool, and I just, you need to sort of bathe in that, right? Yeah, stories. It's not about plot. It's not about the action. It's about the people. That's what makes the story compelling. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
During that answer, I was like, oh yeah, I should really work on that with my villain. Like, he needs more backstory. I need to go into him.
Like, and I think that's, yeah, like nobody ever there's a lot of the mustache twirling villain. Like, nobody ever thinks they're the bad guy, right? Nobody thinks they're the bad guy, and so you need to understand, why does this person think that they're the good guy? That person thinks they're the hero, and you need to think about why does that
are justified.
Yeah. Why does that, like, why is that justified in their mind? Why does that person think they're the hero?
Their values, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do that really well, you can, like, every once in, like the, people's favorite heroes are like, what, I get where they're coming from, but you can but they're off the path. Like, I get what they want. Like, Black Panther, the movie Black Panther, like, the villain of Black Panther, you're like, yeah, I see where I see where he's coming from, but
you're going about it wrong, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, kind of got off the path, but I see where you're going. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, writing compelling villains is extremely important to your story. Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the villains are so well written that they steal the show.
I know. Yeah, it's so hard, and it's I've heard it explained, and I think there's a lot of I think there's truth to it. Like, villains are active throughout the story. Like, villains are active. They're doing stuff, right? Whereas the heroes, for at least the first chunk of the story, they're just reactive. Things happen to them, and so I think that kind of, we like people that take action. Humans like people that take action. Like, that's interesting. And so, the hero always just has stuff happen to them that they have to rise up over, whereas the villain's always like, oh, I'm moving and shaking and doing things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So, because life happens, how do you make time for writing?
That's why it takes me 5 years.
I'm in the same boat. It's so hard.
Yeah.
I have so many interests.
I'll tell you my answer, but if you've heard answers from somebody else that are better than mine, I would love to know it. A lot of it is just muscling it into my schedule. I've always been any progress is better than no progress. So, like, even if all I can do is just 10 minutes today, I'm 10 minutes closer to the end of my story than I was at the start. So a lot of it is just the discipline of just muscling it into your day, a certain amount of time. Obviously more time is better, but again, and just a tiny bit of progress is better than nothing. 2 sentences. If all I can do is 2 sentences today, that's 2 sentences closer.
Progress is progress.
Yeah, progress is progress.
I'm feeling down about stuff. I go, progress is progress. Did you think about it today? Did you write something in your notebook today? Did you type a few sentences? Did you have an epiphany? You know, like, did you do something towards it today? You know, and there is so much more than writing to authoring.
True.
There's marketing and interviews and talking to your agents and lining things up and deciding on covers and so but yes,
absolutely.
you have to knock it down on yourself about what you're not doing and just focus on keep going.
I'm doing something.
Yes.
Like a lot of advice is like, oh, give yourself like a daily word count target, right? But your point is, and I find this true as well. Like, so much of writing isn't actually like writing words. And, you know, I spent an hour, you know, editing, which, you know, so I got like 0 words, but like, you got to edit, right? You got to world build, you got to market, you got to pick your cover, you got to do all these things, right? So, yeah. Have you heard any other secrets? But did anybody have a better answer that I can steal from? That's
most people answer something along the lines of self-discipline.
Yeah.
And others emphasize the importance of giving yourself grace. Yeah. Understanding that your life circumstances might be different from another person's and that you cannot compare and you can only do what you can do, you know?
Yeah.
And that you know, you have to be at peace with it.
Forgive yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
Be graceful to yourself. I like that. Yeah.
Me personally, I just have to realize what season of life I'm in. I have small children. Most people are like, how do you find time to write even one book? You know, I have 3 out and, you know, you steal time here and there. You work it into your schedule when you can.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes it's just you're doing dishes and you're thinking about those plots and you're like, okay, guys, from the top, let's run it again, this time with more emotion, you know?
Yeah.
It's just doing what you can when you can do it.
When I was in high school, I used to play football in high school, and I was a lineman. So most people know. A lot of your audience might know football. They know what linemen are. If you don't know football, like linemen are the guys that line up, and then when the ball is hit, they just smash into each other. So that was my job. Just the guy in front of me, just smash into him. And the advice that our coaches always gave us was, okay, like sometimes the person you got to smash into is like this big monster, and you're like, how the hell am I supposed to push that guy out of the way? He's like this big monster. And the advice was like, you keep your feet pumping, right? So you just, you know, you keep your feet pumping, like, because the natural reaction is when something gets heavy, you just sort of put in your feet and you push. But as soon as your feet stop moving, your momentum stops moving, and then that's when you can get bowled back. And so they always said, like, keep your feet pumping. If your feet are pumping, you might not move them, but you'll be at a standstill, but you might even actually move them forward to it. And I was like, you know what, that actually sounds like good life advice. Keep your feet pumping, like just little steps. You might not be making lots of progress, but you smash into that wall, just keep your feet pumping, little steps, do a little something. Think of it while you're doing the dishes.
That's really good advice.
Yeah. Sports advice.
I am not a sports person, but I do like that analogy quite a lot.
Yeah. I'm not a huge sports person either. It's like the only thing I remember. Yeah.
That's a good thing if you can only remember one thing.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a favorite part of writing?
So I think every other author is going to disagree with me, but I really like editing. I really like editing.
You are in the minority for sure.
I am in the minority. Everybody's like, oh, I hate the editing. I'm like, I actually enjoy the editing.
There's sort of a love-hate balance with it, because if you're editing, it means you've kind of finished your first draft, and that's the first really big hump is done. Yeah. But a lot of people, when they're done with it, they just want to be done, you know, but they have to keep going and going and going. So,
For me, I like editing because it's in the editing processes where you create something beautiful.
Yes.
Like your first draft is the smoking pile of garbage.
Right. Yes.
Right. So like, so it's like, it's the editing process where you create something beautiful. The first draft is not that at all. For me, the hardest part of writing is the first draft. Like it takes me like 4 years to write the first draft, and then I can just fly. I can just hammer through the edit. Yeah.
getting it just completed is way harder for me than the editing.
so
The
hard.
editing is a lot more fun.
Yeah. And I edit a lot. Like I don't like I edit a lot, but it's like I enjoy it and I can just do it for hours. Whereas writing is like pulling teeth sometimes. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, your characters are just staring at you going, so what do we do now? And you're like,
What do we
I
do
don't
now?
know, man.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, I wrote you into a box. I don't know.
I painted you in a really good corner there. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Hope you get out of it.
I hope you, yes. What
What you do
happens
is
now?
just
I don't
the
know.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes you 1 month of just staring at the same problem until you have that eureka moment. And you're like, aha, that's how we're going to pull it
That's
off.
how we do it.
But my characters are so much smarter than me, you know? They
Yeah.
figured it out rather quickly, and it took me 2 years, you know?
Because you can spend a lot of time thinking about it.
Yes.
A show that I watched, I know that, like there's this show, Mr. Robot, that came out probably around 2010 or so. This is a sci-fi show. I really enjoyed it. I found it absolutely compelling. Like you had to binge watch it all the time. And I was trying to unpack, like, you know, the story writer in me is like, okay, like I need to like, why is this, like, what do they do that makes this, like, why is this so interesting? Why can't I let go? Like, what did they do? How did they technically make this interesting? And you know, so they had interesting characters, they had interesting situations, but a pattern that I noted in this show is that the characters, the protagonists, the heroes are super competent. They're very competent. Like they're not idiots. They're very competent, best at what they do. But they're outclassed. Everything that they do never works. Like everything that they try never works. So like for the whole season, like and they're coming up with good ideas. Like this is smart. This should work. But like their adversary is just, you know, 2 steps ahead and way so much better, right? And so like the whole season, basically the whole season is them just failing, like try fail cycles, try fail, try fail, try fail, try fail. At the end, they finally get the success that they want, and you're like, yes, it's so satisfying. But then there's this huge, massive unintended consequence of the success that they want. That just like, oh my God, the situation's even worse now.
Yes, it escalates.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I do, I'm like, okay, you know what? Everything that my characters like that's a plotting strategy for me, right? When I'm writing, everything that they do doesn't work. It doesn't work the first time. They're just outclassed, and so I get them in the situation. I'm like, how are they going to get out of this? They're going to try this. Okay, they try this, but it doesn't work. And okay, now they have to escalate. Now they have to do this other thing, right? So I find myself in that, like, oh man, I painted them in the corner, and now how do I get out of this? And then yeah, you got to sit and think deeply. How would you get out of this with the resources that I've given them?
Yeah. Exactly. All right. What would you say has been your most significant writing victory so far?
I would, you know, honestly, getting traditionally published the first time, like that felt like,
Yes,
yay. That felt pretty good.
Someone else liked your book enough to publish it.
Yeah. Like, oh, yay. Somebody besides my mom read it. Yay. But yeah, that felt pretty good. And there was a story that I really, you know, I felt that, like, I'm like, this is I felt good about the story. I'm like, this is a good story. I felt it was an important story. Somebody else felt the same way, and they published it. And yeah, that felt pretty good. That'd probably be my thing that kind of still stands out. It's kind of a win. Yeah.
Do you have any of your books handy? Do you want to show off their covers and tell us a little bit about them?
Excuse me for a second while I just back up here. I should have had this handy at the start.
That's all right. I edit this, so no one has to know.
Oh yeah, there we go. Nobody had to know that I slid back away. So here we go. This is my current book, Ashmi's Song. That's my most recent book. The book that I said that was my very first book that I got published is this bad boy. It's called Duotero. There you go. I'm trying to, yeah, Duotero. That's the first book that I published. So yeah, those are the 2 main books that I kind of have on hand right now. And yes, I've done a bunch of short stories as well that are in anthologies and stuff like that. So, but yeah.
Awesome. And where can people learn more about you online? And do you have any social media that they should follow you or connect with you on?
Sure thing. The easiest is probably just, you can find me on my website, bradanderson2000.com.
Mm-hmm.
From there, you can find links to everything else. And so if you go to bradanderson2000.com, that'll get you. You can probably find me on Facebook through there, or Instagram, or wherever. You can buy my books wherever you buy books.
Yes.
Buy them online, Amazon. Amazon, and not always physical bookstores, but yeah, wherever you buy books electronically, Barnes and Noble, all those things.
Yeah.
You can get hard copy as well as electronic versions of the book. Again, links are there on my website. So yeah, easy answer, bradanderson2000.com. Apparently there's 2,000 of us at least. So yeah.
Yep.
An army of Brad Andersons.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're going to make your website. You're like Brad C. Anderson 0001. No,
Yeah.
0002.
Okay, yeah, it's like 3 days later. Yeah,
got one. Yes, domain names can be really tricky.
Yeah. What would you say is your most biggest win with writing so far to date? What's the thing that you're most excited or happiest about?
I have a super fan who not only she received my book as a free ebook. After she read it, she went and bought physical copies of my book, and then she continued to put in orders for my books because she was giving them to every single friend she had who liked reading. And like that to me was the best, most flattering compliment I could ever given. I loved your book so much that I spent my own money buying multiple copies instead of lending her own.
Yeah.
She was like, no, this is mine. I'm not lending it out. You guys can have your own copies. So, and this was someone that didn't know me. She wasn't a friend of a friend. It was just the happenstance she read my book. And so having a perfect stranger love my books, So yeah, that's my biggest.
That's pretty cool.
Victory.
I love it.
Thank you for asking.
The tables have turned. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yes. I love meeting a new author every week and just getting to know them and just talking books and reading. It's amazing.
That's kind of cool. It's fun talking shop.
It is. Someone who gets it. Heaven knows my family and friends are just really tired of talking about books.
Yeah. Like, do you have any other? I hear you. No, I hear you.
And thank you to everyone who's listening along, and join us next time. And always remember, there's more than one way up a mountain. To be on our show, find us on social media at The Tellnut Show, or email us at thetellnutshow@gmail.com. Thanks.